Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Hustle. I'm the Worth Playboy, and this is...
I'm my Playboys Bunny. I'm Bunny. That's easier.
And we're glad you're here. We use the Morning Hustle to cover more temporary, ephemeral topics that are going on in our little Twitter world.
Yeah.
We try to stay in our lane when it comes to game, relationships, sex, during the week, and on our Twitter feed. So when men go there, they know what they're going to get, and everything kind of pertains towards game and women. And
we're predictable.
Yeah, we want someplace you can go and get away from the politics and the red pill and all the drama, which none of this existed like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit, but none of this stuff went on, and there was no mix, and there's like 3 or 4 girls, and no one would interact with them. So things have changed a lot. And then the Morning Hustle is really to kind of go over more topical, what's going on right now, things that we don't want to really discuss a lot online. And we can expand on that.
And feet on the ground stuff. I think that's a big factor. Because like we were talking this morning, we were kind of laughing. It's like, there's not a whole... Sterling Cooper's here. Hey, baby. There's not a whole heck of a lot of like current, like hot topics right now that we care to discuss.
Exactly.
So we're also it's a good platform to be able to talk, interact with people.
Yeah. When the heavy hitters like Sterling show up, you're like, okay, that's awesome.
What does he say? Is it true that Gabby is pregnant with your baby?
Exactly. That's exactly how everything degrades right there.
That's how it happens right there. All right, so let's start with a maxim. Oh, I love it. How do you feel? You look handsome.
Thank you. I can't ever read it, so she's going to have to.
It's a detail. Women will not hold it against you for trying to get into their panties on the first night. In fact, they will respect you more for your boldness and willingness to follow your manly desires.
And this was top of mind. I answered this question yesterday to one of my clients. He's like, 1 date or 2 date systems. He said,
yeah,
will they hold it against me, if I don't try to escalate physically on the first date? And I said, yes. Yeah. Girls want you to at least be aggressive, and they can say stop.
Yeah.
And that allows you, if you have a 1 date or a 2 date system, you can call an audible on the first date. And if it's going well, you can just keep escalating all the way back to your place.
Yeah.
But girls will not forgive you for being timid.
No.
So
ugh,
you need to.
That's just not sexy
exactly.
at all.
You need to at least try.
Yeah.
And to move it from, strangers to somewhat familiar. That way they know what's coming next time.
Yeah.
But girls will not go out with a guy a second time because they don't feel any passion.
Right.
Right. There has to be some aggression there because she's like, shit, I'm going to have to carry the ball. There's nothing here.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do all the heavy lifting. They're not interested in that. It's not their wheelhouse.
Girls don't want to chase on the front end.
No.
They want to be in your vicinity. They want to make themselves available to you. However, you have to start the interaction. You have to lead, and then let them chase you once they're locked in on your cock.
Yeah, after they've had sex with you 3-4 times, then the momentum changes. But in the beginning, you have to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. And
if a girl feels that you're timid or docile, they're going to disappear.
Which brings me to a kind of thought that I was having about this maxim, which is, I think that a lot of men struggle to pick up on the social cues that women give, the nonverbal communication, the body language that they share, that kind of allows men to kind of know that they have a little bit more go ahead to what? You look
Yeah,
you look
no,
like
I'm listening.
Okay.
because that's my look when I'm thinking.
This is my thinking face. But, you know, body language, things that guys can pick up on to know that the girl is interested in them pushing further.
Yeah, they're
You know,
receptive. They're
Things
receptive.
like eye contact, you know, body language mirroring. I looked up a whole list.
Good.
Smiling, being receptive to, you know, the conversation. Even like we say all the time, you're not that funny, but if she's like laughing and giggling and touching you and
eyes. Yeah, if she's touching you, I mean, you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
But we call it, you know, we've always called it indicators of interest.
Yeah.
You know, and most guys only think about that in the context of like, should I speak to her?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's should I start escalating, you know, physically, you know, out in public or
Exactly.
You know, wherever you're at.
Exactly. So continue to be aggressive, continue to push forward as she's giving you more and more of these indicators of interest. She's facing towards you. Even in like social settings, she will be the one whose body is faced towards you, even if she's trying really hard to be coy and not look directly at you. But when you're talking, she is fully engaged. Her pupils are dilating, her eyes are getting big. You know, it's...
And you'll see it over time. I mean, it's just like I would set up, you know, at a bar, and the girl would be, this is the bar.
He's moving me.
And if I'm talking to her, as she became more interested, and you have to go out and do this for a while. You have to go out with a few girls before you can kind of slow your brain down.
So I'm drinking my drink.
And you start seeing these things in real time. And then slowly she'll move
It's true.
and turn towards you.
It's true.
And it's very unconscious, and it happens very consistently.
And by the time, if she's really interested, by the time it's all over, not only is she facing straight on towards you, but she's leaning a lot. You know, there's a lot. I mean, it's a cleavage shot, it's a closeness, it's an excitement. So there are lots of those indicators where she's...
Yeah, and that's where, you know, the basics, like don't lean in, and that's kind of like Rivolino's thing, but it's don't lean in is a very basic game technique where you sit back and let them come into you, and because this kind of shows that you're like more forward than she is.
Yeah.
And this stuff actually matters. Your posture and all that conveys a lot of information before you even open your mouth.
Well, and like we've talked about also, when you lean back, you're not leaning in to talk to her to make sure she's hearing you, but you're leaning back, you're speaking at a normal volume, so she has to lean into you. These things have a like psychosomatic effect.
Oh, it's huge.
From her perspective, she's having to lean in to hear you. It's not annoying her. It's like exciting her.
Yeah.
She's getting closer to you. She's, you know, she's sharing more airspace. Like, it's exciting. But you'll find that she mirrors not only your movements and your postures somewhat, but she'll also mirror like your speaking and your cadence. And, you know, there's a reason that oftentimes as couples progress or as people are together a little bit longer, they start using the same phrases, they start speaking the same ways. They definitely but that starts at the first date. You know, maybe she's never said ain't before in her life, but randomly she'll say it in conversation if he says it quite a bit. Things of that nature, you know, I think a lot of times women naturally elevate or lower themselves verbally to the person who's in front of them.
Absolutely. I mean, and this, again, these are things that you need to be conscious of.
Yeah.
And you may not catch it, you know, the first few times you're going out with girls, but over time, when you kind of use a system and you know where you're going and you know the venue and you're familiar and everything kind of slows down. It's like playing a sport. Over time, everything around you slows down because you've done it 100 times before, you know, or 1,000 times. So then you start catching these things and you have more control over the situation.
Absolutely. Which brings me to a thought I was having about girls' emotional intelligence versus men's logical thinking and logical brain. I think that guys have I know that guys have a real assumption that girls kind of think the way they do. They don't think that's not an assumption in the red pill space.
That's universal.
But in the real world, on the ground, even the hardest core guys tend to completely forget that girls do not think like guys, that girls don't act like guys, that we don't go through the world the same way. Thank you, Renee. She loves my dress. But I think that this goes to girls having, my hair looks good too, girls having an emotional IQ, because we have to start balancing men from a very early age.
Yeah.
We're
Dads,
talking in preschool, we're
brothers.
thinking about boys. We're talking to their mothers. We're chasing them on the playground. We're dealing with dads, uncles, brothers, brothers, friends, if you have them. Like, there are all kinds of different ways that men are always on the scene in a girl's life, and we do not have a choice but to pay attention. Guys, we've got sons who are young, and we're like, so are there any cute girls in your class? No, there aren't any cute girls. They're all ugly. Like, they pay no attention. Boys pay no attention until they discover girls.
Yeah, literally, it's like a switch gets flipped.
Yeah, and that's where their emotional intelligence of sorts starts to play into the intersexual dynamics or realizing that men and women kind of live differently.
Mm-hmm.
But guys are much more logical, and you expect us to be logical and to think logically.
Yeah.
That's
why, we know a lot of engineers. We know a lot of female engineers.
We do.
And they date, therefore, a lot of girl engineers date male engineers. And the guys are just like, you're like, he's an engineer. He's not going to get it.
Exactly.
And that's okay. The girls know what they're getting into, but they're the extreme. That's why when, if a guy's really heavy into IT, you're like, just tell her you're unemployed. Because it would be better to tell her you're unemployed or just got out of jail than you're in IT. She'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because they know that it's guys that come from computer backgrounds and just don't have, they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't lend itself to reading faces. Emotions.
No.
And I'll say this because Sterling mentioned Troy Francis. Troy Francis does a lot of on the street pickup.
Ooh, yeah,
He's very good about emotions. He does not talk to girls in a logical, dry manner.
He does a good job.
He's been doing this so long, and it's not something that comes natural to anyone, I don't believe. But he knows it's all about the emotion.
Yeah.
So if you get to see his stuff, where he's stopping girls on the street and picking them up.
So good.
It doesn't make any sense sometimes. You're like, oh, okay. But it's all about the emotion that he's building with her.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
The guys that are good at pickup over time they start, but then they get really good at just moving the girls' emotions along.
Absolutely. Anything else about that? Anything else you'd like to say on that?
Are we still talking about escalation?
What are we talking about? I wanted to talk about something about, so I had put this, I put this up pretty regularly. This is not a new information kind of thing. But the rules for being a great girlfriend or wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did Revelinos last week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we were using it all for one of the points, but let's go through yours.
So, mine, suck dick like a pro, be slim and youthful, have a good attitude, low drama, be sexually enthusiastic, be attractive and healthy, be a great cook, enjoy basic household care, take pride in your home, I would say. Organized, she knows where her keys are, be helpful, make his life easier, and make his dick hard.
There you go.
And I mean, things have been added like femininity, submissiveness. And I think that those are pseudo represented here because, you know, they're certainly good for the list. What would you add to that list? What can you think of?
Slim and attractive. Always. I mean, that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to overcome if a girl's overweight and not taking care of herself.
It's
true. And it's superficial, but that's the first thing. And one thing that we've always talked about when it comes to personality, stable mood.
Yes.
Goes a long way. I mean, it really smooths over a lot of other weaknesses. Say she can't cook that well, or, you know, she's not really good at cleaning the home.
Right.
But a stable mood is so rare. And I got this from like another guy on Twitter. You know, he said that's the number one thing he looks for.
Yeah.
And he had to go all the way to Eastern Europe to find it. I mean, he picked up a wife in Ukraine, of all places.
That's
you know,
fair.
he had to leave North America. But a stable mood for a woman, and Bunny has it. She had it when I showed up. You know,
it goes along.
yeah, consistently. And again, sometimes it's just the way they were born, hormones, situational. But they tend to not be up and down, because I think that's what drives a lot of men insane, is managing these girls' moods.
Well, and I do think, yeah, for sure. And I do think a lot has to do with also family stability. If there hasn't been a lot of turmoil, now, granted, I mean, you learn a lot from having hiccups in the road. I'm not talking about that. But if there hasn't been a lot of turmoil where you're always having to be, you know, responsive, and then, you know, I had a very easy life. I've had a very idyllic upbringing, you know, so it goes a long way.
And you even said that, like, in your 20s, you were a little bit more up and down.
Right.
Because I met you, you're 39.
Yeah.
You know, but like rock solid, like same every day. And I kind of take it for granted, because that's who I tend to attract.
Sure.
I don't get a lot of drama.
Sure.
You know, so that's what I would say. I mean, slim and youthful, but we're in fitness. We're kind of spoiled. We can look at a girl that's carrying a little bit of extra weight, and we know what's possible.
Right.
You know, so no one's ever kind of like stuck. We know what can be done.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
But girls that take care of themselves, everything else kind of falls in place.
Uh-huh.
And it's like Bunny says, though, and AJ Cortez mentioned this, his favorite clients are stay-at-home moms.
Yes.
They are
1000%.
single-minded about what they want to accomplish each day, and they support their husband, and they're very, what would you say, positive-minded.
Yeah.
You know, and we see a lot of that too.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, these are but again, there's a financial stability.
Yeah.
There's certainty. They tend to have gotten married in their 20s.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't, in the whole scheme of things, experience a lot of damage.
Well, and their job is look good, keep a nice house, keep the kids alive, keep him happy. That's a pretty good job.
And girls like things that are predictable, so they can plan. Because we talked about this. They can plan out. They know where they're going to go for Christmas.
Right.
Whereas when girls are kind of like flying by the seat of their pants, and they're a single mom, and there's no money, and they're living with their mom.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get through today.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe this hour.
Yeah, exactly. But when girls can like plan, and they know, and there's some security, and like their mother-in-law lives down the street.
Yeah.
Their parents live in town.
Their best friend's his sister.
Exactly. All this pays off in stability.
It really does.
Because even in these older money families, they don't put up with a lot of instability.
No.
You know?
They jump in there.
Yeah.
They wrangle that.
But that's, I say, you know, slim and fit, because you got to take care of yourself, and everything else works better. That's part of our lifestyle. But stable mood after that.
Yeah.
Then everything else can kind of fall into place. But Bunny, make no mistake, Bunny didn't just pull this out of her ass. This is how she is. Well, I mean, a lot of lists are made by guys.
Right.
They're like, well, I haven't ever found a girl with all the qualities.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, because she might have all that, but she's also like a moody shit show.
Right.
You never know,
Sure.
you know, what do you not like about her? Well, I never know what I'm going to wake up with.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of men, or he's at work and she's blowing up his phone because she's got some imagined slide, or she can't manage, the kids. So these are the real.
That
this
sounds
adult
so
world.
fun.
I know all these guys in their 20s are like, you know what? I'm just not going to get married or have kids.
Yeah. Okay. Next, in that vein, you would put up, girls will not directly approach a man she finds attractive. Girls will, however, go to extraordinary lengths, and there are great screen caps here, to get your attention and put themselves in your proximity so you can approach them. And we talked about this a little bit, but I want to take it further also, in that girls always have an agenda for the men that they truly desire and are seeking after. I mean, I like to say I've never interviewed for a job that I haven't gotten, and I've never been attracted to a man who I haven't been able to nail down. It just doesn't happen.
Well, that's like I saw just a clip, and the girl was like, she was a pretty girl, but not a perfect girl. She was like, I've never been rejected.
Yeah.
They had no concept of it.
No.
But what I thought, I knew that this existed, but it's hard to convey to people. And then when I saw all these stories from TikTok, I was like, this conveys that's something that I would find hard to convey to people, is that
men cannot wrap their heads around
not
this.
all women will, at most. I mean, what usually happens is I always say, what girl's interested in you? Well, you're at a party and she's probably about 4 feet away from you, offside, with her back to you.
Yeah.
Her friends are watching you. What's he doing?
Yeah.
He's drinking his drink.
It's true.
But that's who's interested in you. She'll have her back to you. Or hell, she might be behind you.
Yeah.
But they're going to put themselves in your proximity. That's why I also tell guys, if you run into a girl twice, 3 times, just go ahead and ask her out.
It's not an
It's
accident.
not.
We're there by design.
Yeah, she put herself in that position. But these girls went the next step. But it's not unusual.
Yeah.
You just don't know the story.
Yeah.
Because they do it, then they capture the guy, and then they never think about it that much after that. You know? And what was it? The movie about the free climber.
Alex Hummel.
Hummel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the movie?
What was the movie called?
He basically scaled El Capitan. Don't hold me to these facts. But he scaled a large rock.
But it was like a flat face.
Yeah.
Thing. It was free climbing.
Free climbing. And
we're not climbers.
No, but it's a great movie. And he's got a little bit of autism.
He's got a lot of autism.
And so this cute little blonde.
She's adorable.
She went to his book signing. She had read his book. She knew exactly what she was doing. She got in front of him.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. She tells it in the movie.
Yeah.
But she got in front of him. And so they started dating.
Yeah.
And then she's like literally living in the van. She went and said, this is the guy I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And she goes, she knows. She goes, if I'm not right in front of him, I don't think he even thinks about me existing.
No.
And he probably doesn't.
No.
But that's the way his brain works. And she's okay with it. Now they're married.
Yeah. With a kid
or
2.
Yeah. And so she literally had to kind of like guide the whole thing.
Yeah.
But girls will do this for a guy that they really want. And you read some of these stories of what these girls did to get in front of this guy and make him think, oh, yeah, I'll give her a call.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. None of this is by accident.
No.
It's good stuff.
No.
But girls will definitely put themselves in your path when they're interested in you.
1,000%. So this one, this girl wrote wedding vows. Apparently, like the moment she saw him, she's like, she comes up with these lines for 8 years in advance. She's got this whole timeline in her head from just the moment she saw this man, which I completely believe. This one. So she essentially, I'm trying to remember what this girl's story was, but she essentially got into the music. She girls will completely turn their tastes. They'll completely adjust everything to what his likes and desires are. This girl, she found everything that he liked. She It looks like she paid for tutoring from him.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
whole
they will
thing.
get themselves into your, or they'll get in front of you.
And this girl, this was my favorite. She pretended to have read all of these books that he had mentioned reading, and
on Instagram. Like
yeah,
she stalked his Instagram.
just completely dug in.
And it's funny because a lot of guys, they're like, they don't know. They're like, oh, it would weird me out. No, it wouldn't. One, you don't know what's happening.
It wasn't, and you don't know what's happening.
You don't know what's happening. And most guys never spark this much interest in anyone, you know, but when girls are interested, they will pursue.
Absolutely. In our way. You guys don't think of it as pursuing, and therefore you literally don't realize that you're being caught in our web.
Yeah. And the more common scenario is you see a girl you find attractive, you attract her, you start having sex 2, 3, 4 times, then she starts chasing.
Yeah.
You know, because for whatever reason, that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know, she's kind of like a blank slate. But Bunny's absolutely, that's why I tell guys, don't worry too much about her musical tastes or her politics or any of this other stuff. Because 99% of the time, she's going to change it to whatever you're interested in.
Yeah.
And if you just ignore it, she'll get on board.
It's true. It's true. And with enough of her interest, she will get on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a lot depends on what her level of interest is in you.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't let her like hijack the conversation in the beginning, like get into like abortion rights or politics or Trump. You just keep it light and fun.
Yeah.
And go, let's not worry about it. Let's just talk what you're interested in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, guys let the girl kind of like hijack the conversation because she doesn't know what else to talk about.
It's true.
So he has to kind of guide her into bed. You know, then all this goes out the window.
What are some great ways for guys to develop their skills at being the fun guy?
Well, the video, it's an early frame announcement. You just keep it light.
Yeah.
You don't you don't talk about relationships too much. If you've been through a divorce, it didn't work out. I wish her well.
Yeah.
You know, we have a good relationship with the kids, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, these things, it's in the past. You don't talk about it too much. You keep it light and moving forward. You know, I had a list, and the list of what to talk about is in one of my books. I think it's your basic training and how to build a date or your dating system.
Yeah.
Because especially the first couple of months, I literally had a list. It was like 70 questions that I would run to the bathroom if I had to. And go back out. And it works.
To me, really says a lot, too, that even as a personal trainer, you're dealing with women every day, 20 hours a day, you know, and having been literally just born into being charismatic, good looking, around women all the time. You had a lot of exposure and a lot of experience. And yet, even getting back into dating, after you were like
15 years
working.
Yeah.
You were working the system and reteaching yourself.
Yeah. And I pulled the list from like some pickup book.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, you know, the most basic questions like, what are you passionate about other than your career or kids? You know, and then they'll start talking. Yeah. What's your guilty pleasure? And it was always like, what do they call it? Like The Bachelor.
Oh.
You know, that's reality TV.
That's funny.
You never know. I mean, there's 3 or 4 core questions. And like I always tell guys that are a little bit older, if you really like just run up against a wall and you need to buy time, just ask her about her kids.
Yes. Or grandkids if you're old enough.
And they'll start talking. It'll give you time to, you know, think about the next thing you want to talk about.
But I do think it's important, and I think that guys can kind of tend to get lost in the weeds here, that they need to be actively listening. You need to run your game, whether it's text, whether it's getting her off the apps in the first place, whether it's in text, whether it's in front of you in the first meetup. You need to we always say that what she's saying is of little actual importance. Like she's talking, but you need to actually keep the progression going.
Yeah.
You don't want to sink into whatever it is she's talking about. However, you still need to, and you were really good about this back then. But But you need to also keep all the stuff in mind that she says, because it will come up later. You'll be able to tease her about it later. You know, you'll be able to like bring it up later. It's important to like. You were always very good about remembering the tidbits, like kids' names.
Yeah, you get this.
General
and I think
ages.
This is one of those things where we spend 90% of our time talking to clients.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, and it used to be one-on-one, and now we have groups. So you remember things, you know, the keys. Where most personal trainers are not the type to forget, like how many kids she has, you know, where they live, what her husband does for them, you know, these things. But and we're used to talk, and I think it would be a lot harder. This is a lot harder, and that's why I say use a list. Don't be afraid to check it if you're an HVAC technician. You spend most of your day on a roof
alone.
You know, I mean, it's going to be, maybe it's better because you're fresh. You know, I mean, and it's a unique situation, but there's no barriers that you can't overcome. With a little bit of effort and practice. You know, because there's a lot of guys that do have like the solitary or isolated job. Right. But man, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, they spend all their time with women in the evening. It's good. You know, girls know. They're like, yeah, he's out. Yeah.
But I would say getting ready for a date when the day of, you know, in your downtime, do something fun and lighthearted. Watch stand-up comedy.
It goes a long way.
Do things that you find funny and enjoyable so that you're bringing a light energy to the meetup.
Exactly. And the good thing is you get pretty good at just like flipping the switch. You're like, well, whatever happened in business today, there's nothing I can do about it the next 3 hours. Yeah. You know, so you get in there. Yeah. It's a completely different thing.
It's so good.
Some guys, I mean, that's the thing is, you know, dating, some guys just show up and they're hoping it will happen right, and it goes into the shitter and they don't want to do it anymore. But if you actually have a system and you have a plan, and you kind of like mentally know where you're going to be, and you know what's coming, it's easier to manage.
Absolutely. You know? So. Well, like you said, then you kind of get on some level of autopilot to where it's easier to kind of weather the hiccups as they come. Yeah. Because you've seen it before.
Well, it's like in my dating system book. I mean, knowing where you're going to go, and you can use the same venues over and over. Yeah. Knowing that it's not going to be too loud or too expensive or too crowded. Yeah. All these things, and you can use the same place. And I put in there like why. You think at first like the bartenders and the staff start pulling for you. Right. You know, as long as you tip well, they want you to do well. And then a girl realizes you walk in and you're like, no. And they're like, oh my God, how many girls do you bring?
Well, you're the first one today.
Yeah. Do you mean today? Or you're hundreds, thousands, you know.
Who wouldn't want to be in my company?
Because especially today, especially like in an anonymous city, guys move around, no one knows them. Yeah. And you go in some place and people know you, it's completely different. It's social proof and it helps your campaign, you know, in a way. Yeah. So there's no downside. And the book kind of walks you, I say book, it's the manual. Yeah. It walks you through a system of dating. It's very good. Yeah. And it's adaptable.
Long-term, long-distance relationships are not relationships. No. You put this out there on Twitter. And people always get kind of lit up about this one.
There's a couple, you know, and I got this from other, you know, guys, and I really had to think about it. There's only 2 instances where long distance relationship work. One where you're already together. Yeah. And you're going to be separated for a definitive amount of time. Yes. You know, I see it because we have a lot of medical school students here in our building, and their spouse or their girlfriend, boyfriend is somewhere else, usually in medical school. Yeah. And they know they're going to be separated for 4 years, and they make it. Yeah. And of course, these are high functioning
people. They have a plan.
Yeah, these are high functioning people, but you can't leave it open ended. No. The only other time is if you have a really busy career, sometimes it's better. Yeah. Like I have a client that runs medical offices. Yeah. And she doesn't have time for a boyfriend.
She does not. Absolutely
not. So she has one that's out of town. And when he comes into town, they have fun and they go out and do stuff. But she can't do that every day. No. She can't do that every week. No. You know, she has to recover, you know, and she doesn't have time in the evening. And most guys, probably get all butthurt
Yeah.
and mad.
In person, that's true.
But that way, I mean, she's like, when he is in town or she's with him, she's focused.
Yeah.
And they have fun, and it's like kind of like a vacation.
It is.
Is it setting them up for a long-term relationship? Probably not. But it keeps her off the streets. She doesn't have to wonder, do I have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
You know?
It's just enough distraction to keep her busy and occupied and have a little feel wanted and desired without being a distraction from everything else.
And that's for younger guys, it may not be the best thing, even if you're busy and you're building your career, because if they're out of town, you're not building your skills.
Right. That's true.
So that's the trade-off. But
That's
if you
very
have
true.
skills, you're older, say you've been through a divorce, a long distance relationship can serve its purpose for a while you're recovering and getting your feet under you.
Yeah.
And it gives you time to like do your own thing. You know, because most guys and you see this, these guys telling these guys in their 20s, you know, don't date until you got the bag, or, you know, until you go. Well, you know what? This is business. You might not even get the bag. It may never happen. So you spend your 20s grinding, and you don't have a girlfriend or the skills to pick up a girl.
Yeah.
So now you're broke, and you don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or the ability to get one.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a double whammy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, through your 20s, you should be building your skills in every endeavor.
Well, and young guys need to be learning also that girls can be, I would say, collect your thoughts. I would say it helps to have a girl close or running a pseudo rotation of some kind, because then they can be helpful. Girls love to be helpful to guys that they desire. If you're busy, you just have to lay that out there. You're building your business, you only have a finite amount of time to devote to this, but she will cook you meals. Yeah. She will look for ways to help you and to make your life easier. And you guys can maximize that for your own benefit. Instead of hiring an assistant, you've got a rotation of girls, and you get to get your rocks off occasionally. Like, that's
where a rotation does come in.
It's a big deal.
If you can manage a rotation, which in your 20, at any age, it's good, but you just have to know they have to know what their role is.
Yeah.
And you have to know what is really going on. They you know, it's in the book. It's in the book.
It's in the book. It's in the book. So,
do we have any questions coming through?
No, we don't have any questions. We've got a lot of shit talking. We got a lot of shit talking and a lot of fake accounts, but you know, hey. You know what? Okay, so one thing that we did talk about this morning, you and I, and something that we see a lot of on Twitter, is guys telling stalker stories that may not be all that true. I think it's kind of right up there with guys thinking that all girls have, you know, bipolar disorder to some extent, when really it's that female hormones are a little bit different than male hormones. I think that stalker stories are more like girls who, for the most part, now I know that there are some psychotic women out there, but for the most part, I think these stalker stories are more tales of women just not really calibrating their enthusiasm very well. So
there's a time and a place for stalker stories.
Yeah.
You know, as a display of high value when you're dating or when you're out on a date, but floating them up out and about isn't always necessarily the best thing. And they don't have to be true. You know, they don't have to be absolutely true.
Right.
You know, for them to be effective, you just have to kind of like drop it along the way.
Yeah.
And it has its effect because it tells a girl that, you know, there's something about it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just something about him. I just can't resist him.
But it has to be congruent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the only risk you take if nothing else indicates that anyone would chase.
But if you've got multiple stalker stories to tell,
you should probably have one, maybe two.
That means number one, your picker's broke, and number two, your own read of the girls and the situation are way off.
Yeah, if you're dumping girls pretty rapidly, and they're like, they don't know that you dumped them.
Yeah.
They're not stalking you. They're like,
they think you have a date on Thursday.
Yeah, that's not stalking. So it's just, so there's a time and a place.
There's a time and a place.
And you can calibrate it.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually in passing, because that's how most guys see even the most traumatic things. They, oh yeah, this happened. Yeah, I was convicted of murder. You know, I mean, and they're like, yeah, I did 3 years. Yeah, they do. They just go, oh yeah, I was in my 20s. I forgot about that.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Manslaughter. You know, they don't. I mean, they don't. That's why you got guys with like 7 or 8 DUIs. You're like, oh yeah.
And riding a bicycle.
Yeah, a BMX bike.
All right, that degraded quickly. So next, this one was hot and heavy this morning. No good morning texts. Let's explain why.
Okay, be my guest.
Well,
I say across the board, when it comes to texting,
yeah,
less is more.
Yeah.
And Bunny knows. I mean, these girls are getting good morning texts.
Good morning, beautiful, specifically.
I mean, you can, anytime a guy like share, like, he's like, hey, how did this conversation go bad?
Yeah.
And I see where he's like, and these are guys that follow us and follow other.
And know better.
And they know better. They can't. They're using emojis.
Yeah.
It's a good morning, good night. It's good morning, beautiful, just like Bunny said. And you're like, how can you miss the basics?
Yeah.
None of this is helping you. It's actually hurting you.
Yeah.
You know, there are reasons that these things, I mean, and I've had so many guys, probably more than any other technique that I kind of like put out there regularly.
Yeah.
They said I started texting less.
It's huge.
It's amazing, the response.
Yeah.
The girls start chasing, you know, but that they see, girls are just like inundated with social media and texting because it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes nothing for a guy to do. But yes, you have to create some interest in them, but you can also drive them away through text. And what I tell guys, before you're fucking them, the phone should just be used for logistics.
Yeah.
Because you're going to talk them out of it.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, that's 9 times out of 10, a girl will probably fuck you unless you talk her out of it. And it happens constantly.
It's true.
Because the girls are just like, oh, no, not you. Oh, yeah. It's the 3rd day in a row I've gotten a good morning text.
Yeah.
They don't want to see you that much. And they're busy in the morning. They got kids. They got a job to get to.
Right.
You know, completely different world.
It's just so generic.
They hate it. They hate it. They not only don't care for it, they hate it.
It makes you come off as needy and low value because you don't have anything better to do. You're not trying to get to a job. You're not trying to do your hustle.
You're not trying to get somebody out of bed.
You're not trying to, get your workout in. If you are a high value human being, you're busy in the morning. We say no text before 10 a.m. It's just a good general rule of thumb that you can apply to your schedule and your life. But no good morning, beautiful text. No good night, beautiful text.
You're out and about.
Yeah.
Or you're entertaining somebody. And use a girl's imagination, just like we're talking about Troy Francis earlier, emotions. A girl's imagination will do almost all the heavy lifting for you if you allow it.
Exactly.
If you remain a mystery, there's a reason. There's a reason girls love these stupid vampire stories. He disappears. Where is he? He's been gone for weeks. Then he shows back up. She's happy. Where is she fills it in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
She doesn't think that you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with your buddies like you are. She thinks you're with another chick,
But we say 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. is the window of texting. Anything other than that, you're busy. Yeah. And allow her imagination to do the lifting for you.
Yeah. It works. It works like nothing else. With texting and communication by social media and phone, less is more. Yeah. It's a big deal.
We got a question, and it's a good one. And it has nothing to do with dating and relationships, but it definitely applies to our interests. All right. So, Jeff, so you guys run a business, and we've run multiple businesses. Are there any books you recommend to make me a better salesman? That's a great question for us. First of all, we love business and we love books. I'm going to say, because you clearly have a pause,
Yeah.
my absolute favorite business and life book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think it will make you a better salesman because it develops better habits. So anytime you're more efficient and effective in all the other areas of your life, it goes a long way in allowing you space, mental space and clarity to be creative. And you have to be somewhat creative to be a great salesperson or a great business builder. So you need to have a little bit of wherewithal in the rest of your life to have extra energy to be a great salesperson.
Anything by Dan Kennedy?
Yes, 1000%. We literally have an entire bookshelf.
Everything he's ever published.
Yeah.
And I bought, and I've gone to see him, and I've never wasted my money.
No.
Ever. I was trying to find he's a copywriter, but he's also sold Need and Need.
Man.
Face-to-face, and he knows there's a difference, and there's a difference between on the phone and everywhere else.
Yeah.
And he's very much, whether you're selling sheds or, dog collars or whatever you want to,
Dentistry.
Yeah,
You
personal
name it.
training,
Yeah.
gyms.
Yeah.
Hell, he even sold the state of Oklahoma
Yeah.
to other states, to
Yeah.
other people,
Tourism.
to get them to come move. Think about how hard that is. Come
I remember that.
come live in Oklahoma, and
system.
it worked.
It worked.
Yeah. But anything by Dan Kennedy, and I say the Direct Marketing for Non-Direct Marketing Businesses book by Dan Kennedy is a good place to start because it'll kind of get you moving. Everything else will grow out from there.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to sell to people that are actually interested in. He's not a cold call.
Yeah.
This is not his world.
Oh, what a nightmare.
But that's not where anyone wants to be.
No.
You want to be in champagne sales where they feed you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I will say, no matter what your industry is, no matter if you are an online business and you're strictly online and you've always been online, or whatever your industry is, just like Worth just said, I just want you to catch it. If you can get real knee-to-knee, face-to-face sales experience, that will make you better. So if you are strictly an online business, talk about your product, essentially have your elevator pitch, sell your product to everyone that you run into in some way. Like, find ways to talk about your business, not because you're actively trying to sell to the person in front of you, but because you need practice talking about it and kind of learning it from every angle. It goes a long way, and just that ease of conversation then that makes you a better salesperson.
Perfect. That's really, I can't imagine having to come to online sales with no on the ground face-to-face sales. But that's just my timing.
Yeah.
I started making calls from lead boxes at Gold's Gym in 1984. A guy that was a couple years ahead of me in high school, he was the manager, and so he put me on the phone. And I'm calling at 7:00. Hey, you want a free week?
Well, you don't have a fear of phones.
No, you can't be. But it's crazy that you still get nervous, like when somebody's coming in.
Yeah.
Even this long, and I told Bunny this is like, I've noticed that my enthusiasm for that face-to-face selling is kind of like dampened down a little bit.
You get tired.
Yeah, after 20 or 30 years. Yeah, but
tired.
even 2 or 3 years ago, I'd be like,
yeah,
you can't help it. You're excited. Somebody's coming in, and you create a new client. You want to add, and I would say anything by Dan Kennedy and anything that Dan Kennedy recommends.
Yeah.
When it comes to sales, will be beneficial to you no matter what you're selling.
Absolutely.
If you're selling corporations, selling businesses, or selling, trinkets, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I just read How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, which I kind of read and reread, and I listen to the audiobook just because it's good, like white noise that constantly is feeding my creativity and brain. I think that's a really good one too. Anything that you can do to maximize your knowledge of selling and thinking outside the box goes a long way. All right. So, Nestor, how can I steal a woman from her husband? He's an average, frustrated cuck. Is it cuck?
Chump.
Chump. He's an
Average, frustrated chump.
And we were just talking about wives and their like interest and their enthusiasm for Playboys or not or whatever. So it's kind of funny timing.
It is the best way to be walking out to your car.
Yeah.
And to get shot in the head.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Your chances of getting shot in the head by a mad husband are way higher than your pleasure from any orgasm that you'll have in some girl that's been married for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't care how hot she is.
Yeah.
It's a waste of your time.
Yeah.
You could be fucking some girlfriends or free reign. I bet you start dealing with wives and these husbands get crazy and they think nothing of blowing your brains out.
Right.
And they'll do it they'll be giddy.
Yeah.
You know, they'll dance on your grave.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't go to jail.
And make no mistake, girls who will cheat on their husbands with you, this seems really basic, but guys like to forget this because everybody wants to think that they're the special unicorn. Girls, then you're going to invest your time in this woman. You're going to invest your money. You're going to invest your life in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just in a dating relationship. And she's going to do the same thing to you without question.
Yeah, it happens 100% of the time.
100% of the time. If she cheats with you, she will cheat on you. She's good at it. She knows how to work the system. It creates that drama that girls love.
Yeah.
If you have real interest in, he may be an average frustrated chump and he may be easy game to just steal his wife.
Yeah.
But why?
It only takes 7 pounds of pull, you know, and he pulls that trigger and you're done. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
You got to walk around or every corner. You're not sure.
Yeah.
You know, every time you walk out to your car, every time you go to work, you're going to get ambushed.
And clearly, this isn't a morality statement that we're making.
No, that's just common sense.
It's why would you want to when there are so many girls available?
Yeah.
There's always a new girl turning 18.
Hundreds of
There's
thousands.
always a new girl getting divorced.
If you're in a city, there's more girls in a 5-mile radius, even 2 miles, that will fuck you today than you could ever get to.
Yeah.
And you're wasting time with some used vagina
that's
already under contract.
Yeah.
You know, and is protected.
Yeah.
He may be an average frustrated chump, but they kill people constantly.
Yeah.
So
there's a reason the people at the top of the bell tower are like those guys that are like, yeah, he seemed like such a nice man.
Yeah.
He was so quiet.
Yeah. And something made him snap.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna be mad at her. They'll kill her too.
Yeah. Cappy, I think you don't understand. She's one of a kind.
Yeah, she is, baby.
I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously now. Oh my gosh.
Now you're just trolling.
Yeah,
that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I always go straight to you're gonna get shot. And other than that, it's not working.
It's not.
You know?
It's not.
Happens all the time.
Well done, darling.
Thanks. But that's the two arguments is one, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And two, she's gonna cheat on you.
Yeah, you're gonna spend time and energy and and she will end up ruining your life.
It's like spending all your money to buy a dump truck. You're like, why would you do that? Just to drive it around.
Yeah, not to make money off of it.
No, you're just driving a dump truck.
Yeah.
That's something low value.
What is your latest book? Chateau 3.
Chateau 3, which is part of a bundle.
Yeah.
What do we call it?
What did we call it? It was a really good.
It was so good.
It was so good. Anyway, it's like 6 books though.
It's 6 books.
It's fucking fantastic.
Discounted. It's everything from Chateau. It's Dread. It's how
Chicks
to pick up
jerks.
Chicks Dig Jerks, Running Asshole Game. It's how to pick up younger women. Younger women. And then it's 3 compilations of the best of Chateau Hartis.
Yeah. And the best of Chateau Hartis #3 is in that, and it's launching this week.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
We crank out a lot of stuff.
I didn't do it. I just do the editing.
Yes. Yeah, but we put it together. And I spent 2 years reading his stuff a couple hours every night. You know,
it's a big deal.
I literally studied it, and it's good stuff.
Well, you guys have heard me say this before. That isn't going to stop me from saying it again. You learn a new skill. You want a new hobby. You want to get into a new business. You study it. You find out all the nuances. You learn the people who've come before you, what's worked, what doesn't. You do not have to reinvent the wheel every time. And the same is true for, are you bored?
No.
The same is true for getting in the dating market and being successful in relationships and being better and better and better at sex and managing women. You have to study this stuff. And that's
You'll
okay.
get better. Yeah. I mean, no matter who doesn't need game.
Yeah.
Guys that have been successfully married for 30 years.
Yeah.
Guys that are naturals. Because there's guys that will look at some of the stuff that we do, and they're like, well, all I do is just show up.
Yeah.
And go home with me and we fuck.
Yeah.
These are naturals.
Yeah.
Because the other 90% of men don't. They go to, I get this from a lot, they're like, I go, what'd you do in your 20s? They're like, well, I'd go to the bar with my buddies and drink.
Exactly.
I'd say, did you meet any girls? Well, I could have, but I just never talked to them.
Yeah.
You know, and these are normal guys. They just never, you know, did it.
Yeah.
But now they're interested, you know. The good thing is game is learn charisma. You can learn all of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my latest book is What Women Really Want. It launches on Saturday this week. The pre-sale is on my website, myplayboysbunny.com/whatwomenwant. So I think it's a great book, and it's part of the Evergreen bundle as well. So if you are already on my Evergreen subscription, you do not have to make a fresh purchase because it will be sent to you automatically. All of the books in my library. And just as a side note, if you are watching this and are paying any attention to the chat, just know that 90% of the messages today are probably one guy switching accounts and just shit talking. So pay no attention. No, it's not any of those real human beings that you look up to. It's a bored person at his computer. So just ignore it and don't put much thought into it.
If we're not answering their question, don't lend it too much credence. Because we will answer questions that matter.
Yeah.
Oh, that we see. I mean, make no mistake. If you're a regular,
Absolutely.
we don't get to you, my friend, we will come back and we'll cover it.
And as you know, if you want to submit questions for any of our shows, either one specifically, you'd like us to do a podcast topic on it, whatever the case may be, submit to myplayboysbunny.com/men, and you have submit for live Q&A there's a form.
No dick pics. It's disgusting.
Never send dick pics.
So tired of that.
He's so tired of me getting dick pics. All right, you want to wrap this baby up, you handsome
We
devil?
appreciate you guys watching. We know that you spent an hour of your time, and we value that. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate it. And we'll see you Sunday.
Bunny Show Live.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye. Good show, baby. You sexy man.
And don't forget to buy something.